Hello painting peeps and welcome. It's Kathleen from COZ Creations. Welcome to the No Bra Zone number 2, guys. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. We're going to start this video off a little bit different. I get a lot of questions. How do I mix my paints when I'm doing a pearl pour? Now guys, there are so many videos out there of how people mix their paints for the pearl pour. And I'm going to tell you how I learned. I learned by watching all those videos, by talented artists out there who put a lot more effort into it than I did. And then they taught me. How did they teach me? They taught me by watching their videos. I got tidbits of information from every artist. Different tidbits from every artist. Different artists mix their paints differently. I mix my paints a little bit differently. You have to find eventually your own way, but the best way to get started is by watching all those talented artists. For example, Sarah Taylor. Sarah Taylor's modern art. What did I learn from her? I learned her ratios on her pouring mediums and the amount of water that she used, and I tried it and it worked. What else did I learn? I learned from Sweet Tara Lombardi, a very important little tidbit. When you mix your paints, a lot of the artists will tell you that when the paint rolls off the popsicle stick into the paint below, it leaves very little trace. And when I mix my paints, I would go like this with my popsicle stick, and the gravity of the paint falling off the stick, because I would raise it up so high, would automatically cause my paint to sink. That's not the way you do it. You keep your popsicle close and hover it directly over the paint below so that you actually see the correct formation versus the gravity. First person I ever see do a pearl pour was before I even started painting, and that was Elise Fournier. And I tried to follow her instructions, and it was a total fail. So basically, you've got to get out there, you've got to try it, you got to not give up, and you need to watch all these talented artists. Sarah Taylor's modern art, Tara Lombardi, Bonnie Keynes, who doesn't do videos, but she has been doing the pearl pour, it's hard to say, technique for a long time. Elise Fournier, Tracy Reed. There are so many people out there. So you got to watch, you got to pay attention, you got to take notes, and then you have to find your own way. Dwight Poor, Sweet Dwight, started doing some magnificent pearl pours. So anyways, you gather little tidbits from everyone. I'm going to tell you how I do it, and hopefully you'll gather a tidbit or two from me. Now, I have already mixed up my paints for this pour, but I'm going to mix up 2 additional ones that I might or might not throw into my mix. Now, I use a lot of golden paints. I use the fluid paints, and I use them because their pigment is incredible. I trust golden products, and I absolutely love them, but they're fluid. What does that mean? They're more fluid than most of your tube paints, which are a medium body paint. So I'm going to mix up 2 paints here for you. One is Arteza, and that is the violet, and that is a medium body paint. What does that mean? It's heavier than a fluid paint. Now, so many things to keep in mind here. The pigment on this paint is not as strong as the pigment on this paint. So sometimes I need more paint to pouring medium because the pigment gets diluted or pasty looking. not with my golden fluids. Another reason why I use it. So this is very, very general, and different paints are going to take different amount of paints to get the color hues that you're looking for, different amount of water due to the density of the paint. So we're going to start with a tube paint. We've got 2 3-ounce cups here. I've got a 1/2 ounce of the medium body violet by Arteza, and I have a 1/2 ounce of the golden iridescent copper in the fluid paints. So I'm going to treat these guys the same way. So hopefully something will kick in for you. What do I use? I use Liquitex pouring medium. I use Golden Gac 800 or Golden Gloss pouring medium. They're actually the same product, guys. They just changed the name. I reached out to Golden and said, hey, what's the difference between the Gac 800 and your Golden pouring medium? They said, kind of nothing. So Gac 800, which is harder to find these days, and if you can't find it, buy the Golden Gloss pouring medium. It's the same thing. Floetrol, which is always strained, and water. That's all you need. Now, actually, I have done pearl pours when I was out of my Liquitex, and they did just fine as well. So, but I trust these products. I like these products, and these products all enhance my paints in different ways. So, 1/2 ounce of paint in each cup. I'm going to add, so let's call that 1 part. And then I'm going to add, almost done with this guy, 1 part of the Liquitex pouring medium. 1 part paint, 1 part Liquitex pouring medium. Next is my Gac 800. I keep them in these little bottles because they're just easier for me to disperse. 1 part Golden Gac 800. And then a squeeze, just a squeeze. I would call it about a 1/2 tablespoon. 1/2 tablespoon of the strained Floetrol. And then we mix these babies up. Oh, that's a pretty, pretty purple. And we mix and we mix. So right now we've got 1 part paint, 1 part Liquitex pouring medium, 1 part Golden Gac 800, a heavy squirt of Floetrol. And you mix and you mix. And I should have used a lighter color for this demonstration, but you can see how this medium body paint kind of glumps off the popsicle stick. Let's put that aside for just a second. Let's do the golden fluid paints, which has the same amount of product in it. Stir left, stir right, stir back, stir forward. Now you can see that is already falling beautifully off my popsicle stick. Let me do it closer like Tara says. Now that is still leaving a trace. So we have 2 different types of paint, a medium body paint and a fluid paint. This one's gunky, this one's smooth, but they're both still not ready. So what do? We start to add a little bit of water at a time. Now you get to a point where you know pretty much how much water for different body paints you need to add. This medium body paint, the Arteza paint, is going to take more water than the golden fluid paint in order to get it to the consistency we're looking for. What is that consistency? When the paint rolls off the popsicle stick into the paint below, it leaves no mound, it leaves no trace, it dissipates immediately. Let's take a look at that. Now let me take a look at it. It is still leaving a trace, but these Arteza paints, they have good pigments. If I was using maybe a Master's Touch paint, I might need to add a little bit more paint, because after you dilute it and add all of your pouring medium, sometimes it loses a bit of pigment. Another reason why I use golden paints is because that almost never happens. Okay, another squirt of water. So we have 2 hefty squirts of water in this medium body paint. Let's take a look. It leaves, and I apologize, I should have used a lighter color. It leaves very little trace. These paints are already done. Let's look at this golden green gold. Can you see that, guys? The paint dissipates immediately. It leaves absolutely no mound when it hits the paint below. Now let's look at this copper. See how it leaves a little bit of a mound and then slowly dissipates? We need some water in this cup. Not much water as we needed in the medium body paint. So we're going to give that a little bit of a squirt. And you stir and you stir and you stir. Guys, my little tidbit for you is if you think you've added enough water, you probably haven't. And I tell myself that all the time. Still leaves a little bit of a trace. So another little squirt and we should be good to go. You get to a point where you even know how it feels in the cup, and you can almost do it blindfolded. And there you have it. So that's how I mix my paints. How do I mix my base coat? The exact same way, but a little trick I get used to. I use the same type of paper cups that I get from Amazon to mix my paints in. I buy the same popsicle sticks as well because I know the feel of them. I know how my paint feels in that cup. If I was to mix this in a plastic cup, it would scare me a little bit because the feeling is different, and it's the same with my base coat. After I get this to the consistency that I think that it's perfect, I take the same paper cup, put the same amount of paint in it that is in these paper cups, and I close my eyes and I stir to check that consistency. Absolutely no trace. So there you have it, guys. I hope I shared 1, 2, or maybe 3 little tidbits with you of how to mix your paints for a pearl pour technique. Let's talk about what I'm doing today. Underneath this is my canvas. It is a 15 by 30 inch gallery wrap canvas, and it is a reused canvas. I was not happy with the end results. My inspiration today, last night I watched the Mousy Boys do 2 absolutely beautiful pours, and I loved the colors that Lee and Jeremy used. Mine are a little bit different. They used Golden Van Dyke Brown. Instead of that, right here, I have a combination of, where did it go? Arteza Pearl Deep Brown and Modern Masters English Brown. I mixed the 2 of these together because this pearlizes this just a little bit more. All these paints are mixed with the same pouring medium. 1 part paint, 1 part Liquitex, 1 part Golden Gac 800. a squirt of Floetrol and water to consistency. Different paints took different amounts of water. When I'm mixing up all my paints, I put my fluid paints first. I get them to the consistency that I want. Then I work on my heavier body paints to get them to the same consistency as my fluid body paints. This color right here, this is a combination of Modern Masters Antique Bronze, and I'm not a real fan of this antique bronze. The color of it, it was very, very muted. So I kicked it up a notch and added some of the Treasure Gold Mayan gold to it. The Massey boys also used Golden Green Gold, which you see right here in this cup. They also used the Treasure Gold Antique Copper, which you see right here in this cup. They used Golden Iridescent Pearl White, which I am not using any white. And they used Decoart Metallics 24 karat gold, which I am not using. They did use Golden Nickel Azo Gold, which I am using right here. And then I added a few other things. This is the Nickel Azo Gold. This right here is the Modern Masters Burnt Orange. This right here we talked about is the Antique Copper by Treasure Gold. And I threw this in because I'm going from like light shades, a light brown, darker brown, lighter green, darker green, lighter orangey copper to a darker orangey copper, and then this purple coppery hue, and I'm going to dark with the paint that we just mixed, which is the violet. This color right here, Decoart Extreme Sheen, and that's the Peridot. I will list all the paints in the description boxes for you guys, as well as the pouring medium. I hope I gave you a tidbit or two. I'm going to go ahead and get this canvas ready. We are using Artist Loft White mixed with Decoart Satin Enamel. My base coat is mixed with the same pouring medium and the same ratios. We've got 2 parts Artist Loft White to 1 part Satin Enamel to our pouring medium. Blah, blah, blah. I have diarrhea of the mouth. Guys, let's put some tunes on. I'm glad you're here. Massey boys, thank you for the inspiration. Let's get busy.
Don't answer the phone, spending the days on my own, then repeats this for weeks to come. I don't care what I miss, 'cause my life is dismissed. I keep searching for my bliss. It took days to